Good morning. Good morning. Just double checking to make sure this is working. And we are live. Yes. So I'm late, y'all. I am late this morning. I am coming off of a good night's sleep. Unfortunately, it went over the time that I had allotted for that sleep, but not unfortunately, no regrets. I am sure that I needed that rest. So it's okay. I'm very excited to be able to still be here, still do it. So let's get this. So we're in the last, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? We've been talking about managing holiday grief. And if you look on any social media, uh, any social media at all, from Instagram to um, Twitter, now known as X, to Facebook, you'll see, and of course, YouTube, like me, you'll see people talking about grief during the holidays. And it's heartbreaking to see what some people are going through during the holiday season. And the fact that mainstream media, for the most part, ignores this very real reality for a lot of people. It's heartbreaking to see how that can trigger people. So I've seen people writing articles about things such as wear your earplugs if you're out in public so you don't have to hear holiday music in case that triggers you. It's it's pretty sad to see kind of the callousness that people have. They're not going through what you're going through, so they have no reason to care. And my eyes are watering, y'all, so you might see me wiping my eyes because I literally just woke up like 20 minutes ago. So anyway, it's difficult to deal with your grief in general, let alone when the society around you, the community around you, maybe your family, don't understand your grief and don't care. It doesn't make it any easier at all. So that means that you need to do the things that you need to do to care for yourself. I've talked before on how sometimes a sign of trauma is waiting for other people to save you. Sometimes the sign of trauma is waiting for other people to help you with your grief. You got to do it yourself. And if you want to manage your grief well and not be stuck in your grief and able to move forward with your life because of your grief, there's some things you have to do. And so in the past episodes, I, I, I'm not just talking about the fact that you're dealing with grief of whatever sort. It could be grief from a personal loss, it could be grief from a community or even a national loss. It could be grief from losing a pet. It could be grief from losing part of yourself, losing part of your life. Like, let's say you lost a job that you really loved. It could be grief from losing a marriage through divorce or through becoming a widow or widower. Your grief could have multiple sources. Could be, and we've talked about this in the past, for many times for Black women leaders, it's a compounding. It's multiple traumas and crises that pile on. Sometimes people are literally losing relatives back to back. I'm about to sneeze out back to back to back to back. That's happened to our family. that kind of grief. God, God knows. And because I've been through these things at this point in my life, see, when I was younger, I couldn't have really related and been able to share practical tips to help you. But I get it. I've been there. I've had lots of different kinds of losses. And so I'm not talking about this topic because I think it's cool or trendy for the season. I'm talking about this topic because I know that not that many people are talking about it. And if I don't, who is? Now, I have something to share that this is something that I don't know if you all are familiar with Antoinette Yvonne. She is a solo female traveler. She goes to different places all over the world. She used to be a van life person. She became very popular in the van life space, but she has since sold her van or renting it or something like that. And she's traveling the world again. She's had some incredible losses. So if you all have not checked in with her, she had uh, she kind of disappeared for a little while for specific reasons, which I'm not going to go into here because that's not my story to share. So check out Antoinette Yvonne on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you might want to connect with her. But she shares some things that could definitely help some people who have endured disability. Disability is a type of loss that can definitely cause a ton of grief. And many people are very insensitive about that during the holiday season. It is very real. I'll give you an example with caregivers. Many times, caregivers are just not able to participate in some of the activities and some of the events that are being offered during the holiday season because the person they're caring for is just not physically able, for whatever reason, to participate. That can cause a whole different kind of grief because that is a transformation of your um, the social aspect of your life that many times is very much unexpected. There's no way to plan for that or to even know or realize. Like, I'll give you an example. Many times, caregivers might take their loved one to a party. Everybody, both of them are like, "Yeah, let's go to that party we always go to every year." But they get there, and the loved one is not. They're not able to stay for the whole event. So not only is it changed when you show up, you don't look the same, you don't feel the same, your loved one doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same, but it also changes because you're not even able to really fully enjoy the event or the celebration. You're not able to stay till the end of it. You got to go because you got to take care of your loved one. When they're ready to go, you got to go. You can't just put that off. You got to take them. This is something a lot of people don't understand. This is Sometimes it can be a huge part of the grief that caregivers experience because when you're a family caregiver, um, your social life change, it impacts you on several different levels. When you're used to hanging around with people who aren't dealing with the same kind of problems that you and your loved one are dealing with, those people, A, they don't understand. B, you don't necessarily want to explain it to them. C, you can't always go to the same events and participate in the same way or at the same level that you have in the past. D, I think I'm on D. They don't get it. And because they don't get it, they're not doing anything to accommodate you or to come to you. Like, they're not going to switch. Now, there are some exceptions to this. There are some people that are very empathetic and compassionate, and they will change their plans for you. But for the most part, that holiday party is going to stay exactly like it's been all these years. They're expecting you to come to them. They're not going to bring the party to you. And many times they might visit once, but they're not going to keep visit. If your person that you're caring for is ill for a long time, like a decade, over time, the amount of visits you receive from the same social circle is going to reduce over time. And this is just the reality. They don't live in your house, they don't participate in your life. Many times, caregivers don't even want to burden other people with their life change, with their emotions, with though many times caregivers won't really share with people what's really going on. And when they do, depending on the kind of people you're around, even if you do share, they're not necessarily going to be helpful, sympathetic, empathetic, or understand it all, or want to be a help to you at all. So holiday grief has so many different aspects and layers to it for you as a person who's dealing with your own losses, let alone if you're also a caregiver. If you're also a caregiver to somebody who, let's say that this person is ill and they have an invisible illness, other people don't know that they're ill. So you may take them to um, a holiday party, and other people don't even know they're ill. And it's just not the same experience. And you end up having to leave early to help this person have their needs met, help your loved one that you're taking care of have their needs met. And other people don't even know what's going on. It's an invisible illness. And, you know, it's, I will say this, my husband's illness was hidden for a long time. It was actually undiagnosed for a long time. We didn't even know what was wrong. When he finally did get a specialist to give him the correct diagnosis, because he was also misdiagnosed after a long time of being undiagnosed. So we went from undiagnosed for many years to misdiagnosed briefly, and then got the real diagnosis. And then there were many, many years of people not really being able to tell the changes. I knew the changes because I lived with the man. I knew when you have this kind of situation going on for decades, that changes you. And I know not many people understand what it's like to be a spousal caregiver and you have a spouse that other people don't even know is sick. I know that not that many people talk about this kind of thing. So I'm talking about it because I get it. And I know the kind of grief that can cause for you. So, what we're going to do about it, y'all? We talked about kinds of grief. Now, what are we going to do? So, this is where we go back to the practical tips that I shared with you before. So, I just want to refer you back to the last two episodes where I gave you. So, today's episode is episode 18, if I remember correctly. So, episodes 17 and 16, that's where you're going to see me sharing about those practical tips. So in episode 16, I talked about three practices to heal your broken heart. So I want to refer you back to that. In episode 17, I talked about holiday grief, do's and don'ts. Okay. So I want you to have tools in your arsenal, things you can do, practical things you can do to help you. And not just practical, spiritual things too. I shared scripture with you. I talked about, um, and I also talked about social things you can do. So even though you may not be able to go to the big parties that you used to go to, due to being a caregiver or just being in your grief yourself, if you lost a loved one recently, or if it's the anniversary of a loss, you may not be up for all of that. Okay, so I shared practical things in episodes 17 and 16. Today, I want to talk about gratefulness a little bit more. Um, so in episode 16, We talked about the importance of giving thanks in all things. And, honest truth, being thankful, seeing the silver lining, being thankful that it's not worse than it is, that can really help you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It can put it can help you shift your mindset so that your grief doesn't take you over. So, I want to talk about that a little bit more. So, what can you give thanks for? See, we didn't dig down into this detail. What can you give thanks for? I'm asking you to think about that. What can you give thanks for right now, here in this moment? This is also part of what we call a grounding exercise. What can you give thanks for right now in this moment? If you're watching this, that means you woke up this morning. Even if you're not watching this live while I'm recording on a Tuesday morning, are you grateful? Right here, right now. This is grounding. Thinking about right here, right now. Are you watching this? Are you listening to this? That means you woke up this morning. If you're watching, that means that you have your eyes. If you're listening, that means that you have your ears. Grounding exercise. Being grateful, being thankful in the moment, right here, right now. Like for real, super practical things. There are things right here, right now that's easy to be grateful and thankful for. We're not talking about the big by and by. I'm thankful that one day I'll go to heaven. No, no, we're talking about right here, right now. You're able to hear, you're able to see, you're able to breathe and be alive. You're able to live. Now, if you're deep in your depression, that's different than just grief. If you're deep in depression and you're not grateful for your life and you feel like you need to or want to end it, please get help. This is nothing to play around with. If you have self-hatred and you want to hurt yourself, or if you want to hurt somebody else because you're angry and want revenge, please get help. Call 988. If you're in America, that is a number you can call and get mental health support and help you stay safe from hurting yourself or hurting anybody else. Again, but if that's not where, if you're just grieving and you're trying to work on getting through this grief in a healthy way, getting through this holiday season with all the different triggers that may come at you, then these grounding exercise can help you because you're thinking about right here, right now. Spiritual reasons to give thanks. If you are a person who loves the Lord and you've accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, that's the number one thing to give thanks for, that you have Jesus. Sole reasons to give thanks. You're able to be here and think. You would be surprised at how many people are so confused, so out of it, inebriated. They stay high the entire holiday season. They can't think clearly, driving drunk, driving under the influence of something, some substance. They're just making it through the holiday season with totally being numbed out or vegged out. They just Netflixing all day, every day, not doing it, barely cleaning their dishes or washing their clothes or taking showers. You'll be amazed at how many people are not present in their soul enough to really think. So be thankful that you are present in your soul, that your mind is open, is available to think about things. Now, if that's not you, if you're high right now, if you're numbed out, if you've been vegging out too much, that's something where you can get therapeutic support. You can get help from a medical professional, a psychiatrist who can prescribe medication to help you if you have a chemical imbalance. You can talk with a therapist at that 988 number if that's a problem for you, and they can help you, they can refer you. If you have a job with a major corporation, they provide free behavioral health services through a program called EAP. I've talked about this previously, but that's free. So you can go through your job and ask for those EAP support services. It's confidential. They can't tell anybody about that. If you're dealing with substance abuse, addiction, even if it's sex addiction, if you're indulging in dangerous things to, set it off for yourself on a regular basis, that's also unhealthy. If you need help, there are people that can help you. I am not affiliated with any health providers, but there are many companies now who have their own online apps that you can use to find a therapist that's licensed in your state. Okay. Being grateful in your body. Your neck can move, right? Be grateful for that. If you had pain yesterday and you don't have pain today, be grateful for that. If you have pain, but it's less than it was yesterday, be grateful for that. Even if it's because you had to take medicine, be grateful for that medicine to help you manage that chronic pain if you're dealing with chronic pain. There are a lot of things we can gripe about and be anxious about and complain about, and that can contribute to your holiday grief. But if you make a decision to think of practical, right now things, it can help you stay grounded, and that can really help you manage your holiday grief. This isn't pie in the sky. I'm not just trying to tell you to be optimistic. I'm not trying to say that, oh, you think the whole sky is falling down and be more positive. That's not what I'm talking about. Oh, I know life can suck. We've been talking about that on this show. I know life can suck. Life sucks sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you have to let that keep you in a constant state of grief throughout the entire holiday season. There are practical things you can do to manage it. So think of this gratefulness exercise I'm talking you through. Thinking of the different areas of your life you can be grateful for things for. Think of this as a grounding exercise to keep you in the moment, right here, right now. We're not thinking about what happened in the past. We're not focusing on what could happen in the future. We're not waiting for that other shoe to drop, right? Because that's what happens a lot of times with people who survive trauma. Is many times, especially if you survive something that's happened over and over and over again, many times that just puts you in this hyper vigilant state. You're just always kind of on edge, waiting for that other shoe to drop, right? Doing what I'm telling you right now, it can help you to come to pull away from that hypervigilance and just be present right here, right now. Think of the things to be grateful for right here, right now. So let's talk about something else to be grateful for. Finances. Let's say last year you screwed up your finances during the holiday. This year you saved more during the year, and you've been more mindful. You've followed a budget or a financial plan this year. Be grateful for that. Recognize your milestones. See, nobody's perfect. And we've talked about perfectionism here. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes financial mistakes. And I've talked about this in previous episodes. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm getting over a cold still, and I'm just having issues. Okay. We've talked about letting go of financial shame. Part of that, if you have grief because of horrible financial mistakes you've made in the past, or even that others have made that have impacted you, sometimes you have to Look at the numbers so you can see your progress from where you used to be to where you are now. Even if it was just a day ago, find something to be grateful for. Like you're digging. This is a treasure hunt. Let's call this our gratefulness treasure hunt. You are looking for things to be grateful for in every area of your life. So we talked so far about spirit, soul, body, finances. Let's talk about relationships. Let's say that there's only one person you know you can lean on and rely on and that will love you. It might just be your dog, okay? Be grateful for that. Let's say that you're a person who's had a lot of broken relationships. And that has made you sad, especially during the holidays, because your social situation is just not the same way it used to be. You're not able to go to things like you used to just because of relationships have been broken. Yeah, that causes a lot of grief during the holiday season for a lot of people. Divorce, separation, um, poor relationships with children or with siblings or even with parents. That causes a lot of grief during the holiday season. You'll see people on social media talking about that. But be grateful for the good relationships you do have. Like I said, even if it's just a pet, ground yourself by looking for the things to be grateful for in every area of your life right now, right here, right now. If your dog woke you up at 2 a.m. so they could go pee, instead of being upset, be grateful. They love you and you love them. Be grateful. Career. If you had a career change that was unexpected or a career loss, let's say that you're a person who went through a major shift. Maybe you lost your license to do what you were trying to do. That is a huge source of grief. But if you're still working on a job of some sort, be grateful and be grateful for the progress you're making towards either getting that license renewed so that you can continue on, or be grateful for progress towards getting a new career going. Find whatever it is that you can be grateful for. It is so easy, especially in a work environment where other people are just complaining and moaning and groaning all the time. It's so easy to just complain about your job, complain about your career. We all do it. We've all done it. If you're an adult and you ever had a job, you've probably complained because people are imperfect. Managers are imperfect. Lord, don't we know? Managers are not perfect because people are not perfect. And that can be a source of grief when people are making decisions that impact your livelihood. Let's say that you were laid off during the holidays. Huge source of grief. Don't nobody want to celebrate. You were just told you're not going to get a paycheck or any kind of bonus or anything that you normally would get at the end of the year. Yeah, that's a huge source of grief. But what can you find to be grateful for? Let's go to another area, academics. If you're a student and you got a B, but you've always gotten A's, please be grateful for that B. And I am a high achiever. I come from a high achieving family. We love our A's. And we don't like B's too much. We don't. If you're a student and you're on probation because you're not up to par, your grades are you barely got any B's. Okay? Be grateful that at least you have a probation. You have that time to get things straight. Be grateful for the academic advisors or any kind of support that you're being provided with, and tap in. If you're struggling with grief and that's affecting your academic career, but you haven't told the people that are your support people at your school, then that might be a mistake. You might need to tell them, disclose what's going on so that they can provide you with additional support, especially if you have any kind of disability, if you have a mental health disability or a physical disability and a learning disability. They are actually required by law to make accommodations. But if you don't disclose to them what's going on with you, how can they accommodate you? And they don't know what's going on. And this, I've seen this with people that have invisible disabilities many times. They won't tell their employer or their school. And so they just struggle along, have problems, get in trouble at work for instance, being late. But they haven't told their employer that they're having physical or mental health challenges so that they can get accommodations. If you disclose it, then they can make accommodations so that your tardiness won't be held against you when you're struggling to be able to get up and walk in the morning or being able to see. There are people who are losing their vision, who have grief because of that, but they're not disclosing their vision loss. How can people help you? So be grateful for the support people you have on your job, at school. Be grateful for them and take the time to find out what your rights are. Find out what your rights are so that if somebody does use what your disability is or whatever term you want to use for it, if you find somebody is trying to use that against you, you'll know what your rights are and you can go seek support, even from the labor department if it's on a job. There are agencies and things in place to help you. There are accommodations that can be made. Like if you lost your job, you can go to the labor department and have them to connect you with, don't get me the line, I can't remember the name. It's a rehab, occupational rehab or something like that. They can actually help you to get restored in your career by helping you get the proper support and training that fits your specific needs. The downside of that is even though these employers are not supposed to discriminate against people who have disabilities or chronic illnesses, they're not supposed to discriminate against you if you're considered to be disabled. They're not supposed to discriminate against you if you're older or if you are female or male. They're not supposed to. They do it all the time, honey. But if you need help, be grateful for the government services that are available to support you because they're there. Many of us don't use it. I won't lie, I know I've been discriminated against, but I didn't feel like going through the process of reporting it and getting help. I'll be honest, right? But if that's something that you need, then do that. There's nothing wrong with you. There are many people who have sued and won. And sometimes that needed to happen to change a workplace to help other people down the road in the future. Okay. My situation was not that. That's why I didn't pursue it. All right. If you are a church person and things have not gone the way that you expected at church, but you are in a church where you know that you're loved and you're cared for and they're teaching the word, very well, be grateful. You may just need to distance yourself from knuckleheads because churches have knuckleheads too. Knuckleheads are everywhere. Be grateful for your church. Be grateful for your pastor. Be grateful for the people that are doing the right things, who are walking with love and compassion towards other church members, and stay away from the knuckleheads. Be grounded in thinking about the things you can be grateful for wherever you are. If you're at home, if you're at work, if you're at school, if you're at church, if you're part of some other organization, ground yourself by thinking of the things to be grateful for. That's a grounding exercise. It helps you stay in the moment, right here, right now. Now, when I'm saying be grounded and grateful, I am not saying to settle for mess. We talked about setting boundaries in previous episodes. Go back and listen to some of those. I talked about it in more than one episode and shared resources. So please check those out. If you are a person who is a hobbyist, let's say you're super serious about a hobby, could be playing golf. You like getting your golf game on. Let's say that you didn't do so hot in the last game. Be grateful that for the golf, that you can play the golf. Being perfect, it's just not possible. And expecting yourself to be perfect at anything, be it work, be it your hobby, be it your academic career, expecting yourself to be perfect is unhealthy and unrealistic. Expecting yourself to get better over time, now that's healthy. That's realistic. You can get better over time by learning from your mistakes and learning from your wins. When you do well, make sure you record. Have a record of when you do well. We talked about this in the financial segments that I've done previously. When you have an actual data, when you have actual data, when you can look at the actual numbers from where you started a while ago to where you're at now, that can help you track your milestones. And that is a great way to foster your gratefulness, to stay grounded. If you're a tennis person and you know that 6 months ago you lost every match and recently you won one match, be grateful. Find the ways to be grateful. You have to do this for yourself. Nobody can do this for you. Keeping yourself grounded, that can foster your gratefulness so that you can manage your grief more effectively and not feel like you are drowning in the grief. Every time a song comes on that is attached to a not pleasant memory, every time somebody says something that reminds you of something that's not a pleasant memory for you, keeping yourself grounded is important to help you manage your grief. Gratefulness. If you're a business owner, we're coming to the end of the fourth quarter for 2023. Find things to be grateful about. If 2023 does not look as good as 2022 looked, it's okay. But can you be grateful for something that happened recently? Find something to be grateful for. Journaling. We talked about this previously. Journaling is a great way. It could be a paper journal that you write in with the pen or pencil, probably a pen. It could be a recorded journal, a video journal, or an audio journal. Whatever makes sense for you. Keep yourself a journal. When you think about this is the way I do it. I text myself. I have a phone that I use for my business and a phone that I use for personal. And so I text myself. So I text myself the notes for things to be grateful about. I also text myself things I'm griping and complaining about, but I come back and follow that up later with something to be grateful about. It helps me to stay grounded. Now, this is one final thing that I want to share. Gosh, I didn't realize I've been talking that long. I have to share this. I can't hold this back. This is just, have any of you all seen Maxine's Baby? That is the biopic about Tyler Perry that was produced or directed by, partially by his lady, the mother of his child. One of the things that they included in there from the start of the show pretty much were the critiques that he's received, especially for playing a female character. I heard one of the critics say something along the lines of Tyler did not come equipped to save the Black community. That was the critique, that what he was doing was not saving the Black community. That's what their critique was. If you're a Tyler Perry fan, that might trigger you, but watch the whole thing. They went through. Of course, it's by people that was this was done by people that love him. But what they did was they included critiques of him in addition to, of course, the accolades that he's received. All right, this is my commentary on that, and I'm bringing this up because I believe that it will be a real blessing to you. What Tyler Perry has done is speak directly to the heart of Black women and Black girls and let them know they aren't enough just as they are. The critics were right to say the Black critics were right to say that he did not come to save the Black community. He didn't, because he came to reaffirm us, to reflect us to ourselves, to remind us just how powerful and beautiful and awesome God made us to be, just as we are. Tyler Perry showed and reminded Black women that we save ourselves and each other. We are a community. That's why I do what I do here on Plant Your Seeds of Transformation. We're not sitting around waiting for anybody else to save us, y'all. I've talked about this before. We save ourselves with the empowerment that God gives us to do so. And that's always been the truth for us. And Tyler Perry's films reflect that, because he grew up around his mother and her Black women friends, and he saw how they used community and they used inner empowerment from God to help them. And he reflects that in what he does. He is not coming from in my opinion, okay, that's my opinion. He's not coming from a white paternalistic point of view where he's sending in some blind, blue-eyed white guy to save all the Black women all the time. That's not what he does. And what he does, in my opinion, is a really good reflection of the actual community of Black women that he grew up around, in which many of us grew up around. I come from a line of strong Black women that have endured a lot of stuff. And no, none of us are perfect. Our imperfections are out there. Tyler Perry, he highlights the imperfections of Black women, but he also highlights the strength of Black women when we're willing to do what we got to do, find that inner strength that God gives us and do what we got to do. So I'm asking you, please, don't just sit back in your grief and let it take you over. Find that inner strength that God is providing to you. Find the things to be grateful about and use that to propel you forward out of a time that doesn't feel good. No, we're not perfect. We're not trying to be perfect, but we get better over time when we take control for ourselves. We stand in our strength that God has given us, and we do the things we got to do day by day. This is a daily work. So this gratefulness grounding that I'm telling you to do, this is a daily work. Daily. Sometimes, many times a day, you need to do this. Find a thing to be grateful for. Don't let those negative employees that you work with start impacting your mindset. You may need to open your mouth and speak up about the things you're grateful for. Take it off of the journal into your mouth, say it out loud, and shut down all that negativity that might be around you. That can really help you with your grief as you go through the holiday. To speak positive words and affect the atmosphere around you. That can help you with your holiday grief too, affecting your atmosphere. Might even just need to put some incense, put some incense to make it smell like you want it to smell wherever you're at. If it's at home or wherever. If you own a store, you might need to literally affect the atmosphere with the smells. All right, so God bless you. I know this is longer than what I normally do, but I hope that this was helpful so that you will think about the things that you can actually do. to help you with your holiday grief. God bless you. Bye bye.